Hello and welcome to another Search Engine Melbourne marketing training video. In this particular video we're going to talk about insights, where exactly your customer is coming from. With the advent of internet marketing and the capture of data, for the first time we're able to break what is often referred to as Pareto's law or Pareto's logic, in that 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort, but you really don't know what that 20% is. This is vastly different. You can measure and identify exactly where your customers are coming from to hone in or target specifically the origin, the language, the demographic and the type of audience that you're actually drawing in when it comes to your marketing and online advertising. So as usual, go to Google and we'll go to Google Insights. Just simply Google Insights, and then specifically go to that page, and you should be presented with this particular format. Now, once again, you can see that I'm logged in, so you get better functionality and opportunity when you're logged into the process rather than trying to come in without a Gmail account. So remember, as we've said in previous sessions, make sure that you have a Gmail account, make sure that you've got a Google profile. It makes the whole process much easier. So if we start to look at, for example, if we go Melbourne and we just leave it as it is, we can then start to see a trend. So globally, we'll now start to see the demand and searches relative to Melbourne. Now, as we scroll down the page, there's a variety of options, and I'll get to them in each particular segment. So if we just recap what's here. So the search term that we added is Melbourne. We've done a web search rather than image, news or products. We've left it as a worldwide search, and we've tracked it for the last several years, from 2004 until now, and we've left it for all categories, but you can subdivide it. So what this gives us is a sense of how often and how frequently the term or the word Melbourne is searched for through Google. So what we can then able to identify here is the specific gravity or the volume. Has it waned? Has it peaked? Is it increasing? All of these sorts of things relative to the processes. Now, when you see up here, these bars represent averages. As I said in other sessions, this is not a percentile. This is just a relative average from 0 to 100. So we can see at 82, it's got quite good volume and continuing strength. It does go up and down, but the general search terms for Melbourne does continue to increase. Now, we can see some of the popular trends or the rising trends at the time of recording. We can see some of the more popular terms associated with Melbourne at that particular point in time. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily the best. It just means that they've been the most popular or gotten the most results in Google at any specific time. Now, regional interest, we can see here within the globe where most of these particular searches are originating from. So the vast majority of it's originating from Australia, but Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, Fiji, Singapore and so on as we start to go down the list. These are the areas and demographics most likely, or the ones originating in terms of searching for the most. Now this is a region, but we can click on the city and we can see Melbourne itself. Google's Melbourne more often than anything else. So what you'll probably find as we finesse this, that they're looking for local Melbourne products and services, or they're looking for Melbourne businesses. Remembering that over 30% of Google searches, that is search terms that are put into Google, have a location, that is a town, a specific suburb or city in each and every search, and a lot of these are now increasingly being done on mobile phones. Somewhere between 30 and 40% of all Google searches are being done through mobile phones, smartphones in particular. So Melbourne, Canberra, Sydney, Perth and all the way down, and we can see the top search terms: weather Melbourne, Melbourne University, Melbourne Cup, Melbourne Airport, and as we go all the way down. Some of the rising trends at the time, again, TV guides, time, weather and so on. So as we start to finesse this, we can then segment this. So if we want to put in, for example, Melbourne weather, as we can see it's a popular search term, we go to another comparison. And with this comparison we can see that Melbourne weather, by comparison to Melbourne in general, is far less popular. It only rates 3 on the index. It originates primarily from within Australia. And again, within the region and the cities, most of it is originating from, more than likely, Melbourne. It's not even large enough to warrant a particular result. This is simply not good enough. So we can also finesse this and identify, how many people are looking for specific search terms. We'll remove weather. as we spoke about in earlier training sessions, the specific elements of Melbourne, just the term Melbourne. As we can see, it's quite a broad search term, and again, it returns the kind of results that we would expect. Now, this is quite good when we start to go into searching for our own products and services, or doing a benchmark comparison to identify if and how and why it would be worth targeting online marketing opportunities. So if we choose something like Melbourne real estate, for example, we do a worldwide search, and here we see over the last several years the trend. So the searches for Melbourne real estate has declined over the last several years. It is in a bit of an upswing as it stands at the moment, but 62 out of 100 is still a strong result. Most of the traffic is coming from within Australia again, and we can see the top terms are Melbourne estate agents, Real Estate Victoria, Melbourne property, Melbourne, Florida. That's an American search term. As I said, be wary that Melbourne is also a US country, a US city. Gumtree, domain, real estate, Melbourne suburbs, and so on. So again, this gives us significant insight into our particular demographics. If we want to then refer it significantly more, we can perhaps do Melbourne Cafe, for example. We can then search down, we can look, we can see the trend is increasing significantly. Most of it originating within Australia. Again, not surprisingly, most of it in Melbourne. Cafes, restaurants, beer cafes, Cafe South Melbourne. So again, we've got significantly more people looking at and searching for particular products and services just through the internet. Now, so if we just cap this for the last 12 months, and we look at just within Australia, and we look at just within Victoria, and we can refine our search significantly. So as we can see here, Melbourne in particular, cafes, restaurants, and so on, as I mentioned earlier, all of these particular search terms are related. Cafe jobs in Melbourne is also a significant result. So as a result, we can see not only through our keyword research analysis, but also through our insights, we can target and identify if, where, and how this traffic is going to come to us, the type of language we need to use, the type of customers we're going to get, and in this instance, nearly all of our customers are going to come from Melbourne, so they're going to need navigational directions. They might be looking for coupons, they might be looking for discounts, they're going to be typing in Melbourne Cafe as such, so therefore we need to have a term or a process which is competitive. So if we have a comparison and we look at the search terms related to Melbourne cafes, we can see cafes in Melbourne, for example. It's a significantly stronger trend. Significantly stronger in the sense that it's up around the 58 results, as opposed to the 80 correction. It's trending stronger at the moment in terms of the average search, and this has been since June of this year, and this is just in the last 12 months. So again, we're moving to that season. For some businesses, they may have seasonal issues, or they may have seasonal business that people search for on a regular basis, but the reality is, how strong do they actually relate, or how strong do they rank compared to the search requirement? So if we open up another page, and we look at our Google results here, and we go Melbourne Cafe, for example, and these are our results. So once again, we can identify here that we've got 23 million results, which is what our competition is in broad terms, but the reality is that we're only competing for the first 10. And as we start to look at those that are on the first page, we see those that have lots of reviews. We see Google Places starting to rank quite highly, but there are still other opportunities in the top organic searches. So this first page is really all that counts. So as a result, we can see, with the information coupled with knowing how many people are searching for it, knowing where they're coming from, knowing exactly what they're searching for, we can target our advertising and our positioning online in a much more focused manner. Now remember, the general rule of thumb with search engine optimization and search engine marketing is there is no rule that you can only have one of these positions. There is nothing stopping you from having 1, 2, 3, or several of these positions on the first page. And that's the difference and the trick between general advertising attempts and those that think they know about search engine optimization. They think they can position one site, maybe two, but the reality is when it comes to marketing, you want as much exposure as possible. Remembering the demographics that approximately 44% of all searches will be absorbed in the #1 ranking position, about 22% in the #2, 12, 6, and it peters all the way down to sort of 1s and 2s as we go down to the bottom. So the reality is, and if you're not in the top 4 or 5, you're still only going to get a small percentage of the overall traffic opportunity. So once again, thanks very much for joining us. We've covered in this video insights, in particular where your customers are coming from. If you'd like more information on these, or you'd like to speak to us about the opportunities and possibilities of search engine marketing for your Melbourne-based business, you can find us at Twitter at SE Marketing Melbourne, YouTube SE Marketing Melbourne. On Facebook, you can visit our Facebook page where we have similar videos and training sessions like this, www.facebook.com/Search Engine Marketing Melbourne. And of course, you can visit our website on www.search-engine-marketing.melbourne.com, or give us a call. Whichever is convenient, whichever is the easiest for you, just let us know. Happy to have a chat, and hopefully this information's been helpful and you can realign and target your marketing efforts online to ensure that you are actually fishing where the fish are swimming, and you've not got some parallel vanity project running that nobody can find and nobody's interested in. Once again, thanks very much and goodbye.